welcome to this week's episode of the Uncovery Podcast. My name is Maddie and I'm recovering from anorexia, and I talk about it on this podcast. And it's the last episode of the year, and it's a little bite, and I just want to talk about New Year's and New Year's resolutions. And, my year didn't really look to me like anything to talk about, to post a little wrap up about. It didn't feel like it was filled with things that I could externally show, although I guess aside from my very external appearance, I guess. Anyways, the sort of wrap up posts of all the adventures that you go on and the things that you do and the people that you do them with. Mine wasn't really filled with that kind of thing. But I am a fundamentally different person than I was 365 days ago. It's hard for me to really notice these changes day to day. But if I think about last New Year's, I really can't believe that it was only a year ago, because I've gone from being in a state of arguably needing hospitalization to being a fully restored adult human female. My life is coming back and has been coming back and is much fuller than it ever was before. My bone density actually increased. My skin came back alive. My hair got thicker. These are little things that I did in 2022 by eating a lot of food and challenging myself every day to keep eating all that food and get my body back to a place of health and peace. And I sacrifice significantly when I think about it to recover. My most important singular focused goal of the year was to stick with recovery at all costs. My number 2 was keeping my business going and growing. I also had probably one of the deepest, worst kind of professional challenges that I've ever had this year as well. But I made it through. But for the first 6 or 7 months of 2022, I had very little to report. I treated my life like a treatment center. I saw friends here and there. I saw my family, but I spent a lot of time alone this year. A lot of time going to appointments like therapy and the doctor and my dietitian and group therapy. And I spent it eating and resting and working. And until about the summer, that was really all that I had. But my world at that point sort of started to uncover itself a bit. It started to open up. The light started to come back in. And it's only been better and better ever since. But I keep being afraid to say that I'm the best that I've ever been, because I think some little part of me feels like even after all of this work that it could all fall apart. But it can't, and it won't, because it can't and it won't. What else have I done in 2022? I've cried a lot. I have felt this brewing panic at my changing body. I have white-knuckled to stay in the game. I have lost friends. I have gained friends. One of the best things about this year, I think, has been doing this podcast, talking to you, hearing from you, meeting guests that have bolstered my recovery and also shone their light to others who are listening. So with that little look back, thank you for being here and listening this year. What could I possibly want to do in 2023 now? I've historically been quite ambivalent about New Year's and about New Year's resolutions. And I'm going to use scare quotes for resolutions, mostly because as a behavioral scientist, I know how not sticky they can be. I actually wrote a blog once called You Aren't Failing Your New Year's Resolutions. Your New Year's resolutions are failing you. So here's how I'm thinking about it. To have success, treating resolutions less like immediate habits that you have to remember to act on every single day consciously, but more like, what do I want from the year ahead, and what defaults or contextual nudges can I set for myself to do those things? So here are mine. Here are my 2023 intentions or resolutions or whatever you want to call them, to make peace with my body at long last. And this one actually feels quite ambitious, even for an entire another year. I know that part of this will be a continuous journey, but I want to completely cease using food or exercise to try and change anything about my body or anything like that. I want to end the war. I want to budget properly and really get a hold of my financial health. I'm in a position where my brain space and my financial space provides an opportunity for me to really do better in that area and to think about it more mindfully. I am going to stop all personal forms of social media, which means I'll really only be posting on the Uncovery Pod Instagram to keep you all in the loop and aware of what's going on over here. But that is going to be, I think, a game changer for just my mental health and to further step out into the real world. I originally, number 4, it just said date. But if my friend Paige has taught me anything about manifesting, it is to be more specific. So I don't want to just date. I don't want to date to date. Really what I want is to fall in love. And I'm not even afraid to say that, even if it sounds cheesy and silly. It's what I want. So it's on my 2023 list. I've also been thinking about making change and how people who don't have diagnosed or diagnosable eating disorders, or even maybe what some people would consider disordered eating, it's hard if you don't to make peace with your body or to allow yourself food freedom, because I can imagine that without it really being a quote unquote problem, to fix it feels like, oh, I'm just being lazy, because our society has created this world where unless you have some kind of like severe eating disorder, you don't need to heal it. You don't need to escape from this culture of over-exercising and modifying your body and being a certain size and shape. So here's how I think maybe we can think about making a New Year's resolution. If you want to think less about the way your body looks, or about food and counting and diets and quote unquote health and optimizing every single cell of yourself, here's how you can heal loudly without having to have had an eating disorder. You can choose to heal the relationship that you have with food. You can choose to say, I'm really working on my relationship with my body. I'm working on listening to myself more intuitively. All those things include being free about food that you eat, doing the type of movement that feels good, taking care of yourself with rest. You don't need to have had an eating disorder to decide to opt out of the nonsense and the pressure and the detriments that come along with all of that brain space being taken away by things that you're using to modify your body or mess around with your food. You can opt out of this, whether you've had an eating disorder or not. And maybe just one person will hear this and make it their New Year's resolution to just make peace with yourself a little bit. We're just like flying around on this rock in the universe year after year. And you're just like in this body. We're just like in these shells. And think of all the things that you could think about if you didn't have to think about them so much. If we didn't have to think about our body parts so much, imagine all of the things that we could do with our brains. I can tell you firsthand that even a little bit more free brain space this year has been absolutely wild. It's been wild. And the heart space that opens up when you can feel things because you are not anxious and restrictive and overthinking. I think that it could be such a powerful year if we all just decided to do that. So I'm inviting you, no matter who you are, to join me in making peace with your body and food in 2023. That said, no matter what you're trying to do in 2023, if you are healing a part of yourself, the world around you will change too, which is so cool. Things and people may fall away, but I find that those just make space for all of the new things that become more important to the person that you are becoming. So head over to Instagram. Let me know if you believe in New Year's resolutions, and if so or if not, what you're working towards for 2023. What do you want out of 2023? Oh, and any dating tips would be great too if you have those. There's an episode on that coming soon. Happy New Year. I love you, and we'll see you on the next episode.